potential in various fields. Your nation's achievements are a testament to the hard work, resilience, and the spirit of its people. As councilman of a diverse community in Tampa, I am proud to acknowledge the striking similarities between our two democracies. The United States and India share a deep respect for the individual freedoms, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. We believe in the power of democracy to empower our citizens and provide them with opportunities to shape their destinies.
On behalf of the vibrant city of Tampa, Florida, I extend a heartfelt welcome to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Your visit to the United States provides an excellent opportunity to deepen the bonds between our nations and foster meaningful collaborations. The relationship between India and the United States is a global partnership built on shared values of democracy and freedom, values that have greatly benefited the residents and the economy here in the growing and thriving Tampa Bay region. It's a partnership that also fosters peace, prosperity, and stability in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. Trade and investment, defense and security, education and technology. Together, we are working to address pressing challenges and create progress for the world. We welcome you, Prime Minister Modi, and we hope your visit is filled with productive discussions, fruitful outcomes, and cherished memories.
Now, Government of India has often described the Indian American community as the glue that binds India and the United States of America. And the Indian American community is 5 million strong. The diaspora, 50 lakh Indian Americans, they contribute to the economy of the United States of America. They contribute to India. And they keep the two countries together. How are they preparing for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's historic state visit? We bring you this report.
काफ़ी सालों से वो लोग प्रधानमंत्री ने पूरे विश्व में ही अपने इंडिया को वर्ल्ड मैप पे डाला है, बहुत ज़्यादा कोशिश करी है और योगा को मतलब एक पूरा वर्ल्ड नो नेम बनाया है, तो आई थिंक इट्स वेरी गुड।
योगा तो हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा फॉलो करते हैं क्योंकि हम लोग एक्सरसाइज में बहुत ज़्यादा हैं और जब से मोदी जी प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने हैं तब से तो यहाँ यूएस में योगा को जाना गया है, मतलब सब लोग योगा जान गए हैं अब और बहुत अच्छा। हम तो चाहते हैं हर बार मोदी सरकार आए।
आई वेलकम मिस्टर मोदी। मिस्टर मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, मिस्टर मोदी है तो जो बाइडेन के साथ मिलना जरूरी है, वो मिलेंगे तो कुछ न कुछ बढ़िया काम करके दिखाएंगे।
Now, the Indian American community, like we were telling you, is about 50 lakh strong. But what about Gen Next? Prime Minister Narendra Modi often talks about connecting with children, spends a lot of time when he's out on tours interacting with little children. And how are children preparing for the Prime Minister's visit? We bring you this report.
Namaste Modi ji. Namaste Modi ji. Namaste Modi ji. Namaste Modi ji. Namaste. Namaste Modi. Modi ji. Namaste Modi ji. Namaste. Howdy Modi ji. Kim Cho. Welcome to the United States of America. We are the children of the diaspora community of Collin County, Texas, and we wish you the very best on your trip to America. While we are Americans, we visit India often, as India is the land of our ancestors. And though we may be born here, हमारे दिल में India बसता है. Modi ji auto, Jalli Milso, Jai Hind, and may the United States of America be blessed.
I am honored to address such a distinguished guest. Padharo, Padharo, Shri Narendra Modi ji.
Now, there is anticipation, there's tremendous excitement. You've seen what Indian Americans are talking about. You've heard the Americans, they're equally excited about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit because this is a relationship where there's give and take and both sides hope to benefit. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has often said that when the two most powerful democracies stand together, India and the United States of America, when they work together, it's not just to benefit each other, but for humankind to benefit. That's their effort. But there are two countries that are very upset. Yes, no points for guessing. Pakistan on one side and China on the other. In fact, we'll tell you more about ISI's mega plan to disrupt Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States of America, and that's been exposed. Sources in the government have told India Today, Pakistan's ISI, that notorious spy agency, that country that's virtually bankrupt, that's gone to the IMF on a bent knee 23 times, not succeeded this time, is hoping to go once again. That country is funding Khalistani terrorists. They don't have enough for 2 square meals a day, but they're funding Khalistani elements in the United States of America and Canada. Why? Because they want to create moments where India would be embarrassed, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be embarrassed. So ISI had this Hate India toolkit. Half-truths, absolute lies. They will put out some of their stuff. They have elements in the United States of America, in Pakistan, in Europe, sadly some even in India, who will actually amplify the Khalistani propaganda, ISI propaganda. Again, half-truths and absolute lies for petty gains. And this conspiracy has been exposed. Now, some of this was also funded, according to sources, by elements in China. Why would China fund this? Because China is also extremely uncomfortable about India's rise on the world stage. Remember, China uses things like its Belt and Road Initiative, debt trap diplomacy, its wolf warriors. India, on the other hand, moves forward on the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. India moves forward, taking the entire world along. China wants to move forward, road rolling, bulldozing anything that stands in the way. Several countries have suffered, including Sri Lanka and others. But clearly, China, through Pakistan through these Khalistani and radical Islamist elements, wants to destabilize India. Clearly, they will not succeed. I want to cut across to India Today's Abhishek Bhalla, joining us from our newsroom for more on the story. Abhishek, what more can you tell us about this ISI plot? A country, Pakistan, a country that doesn't have enough money for 2 square meals a day. They're on the verge of default, and they're funding Khalistani elements, it seems.
Well, Gaurav, these are the old games that Pakistan has been playing, and once again we see how it's trying to pump up the Khalistani elements across the world against India. And as you mentioned rightly, that this cozy relationship between China and Pakistan is something that has been called out by the world now. And it's something that the US has been following very closely as well. And that's something that's riled up China time and again, because the kind of relations that India has with the US, particularly when it comes to strategic cooperation, defense cooperation, it's reaching new levels. Even during this current visit of the Prime Minister, there are 2 big ticket deals that are likely to go through. One is for Predator drones, which are weaponized drones that India will have for the first time. And the other, of course, is the fighter jet engine deal, which will ensure that fighter jet engines can be manufactured in India. And that obviously is going to be a big breakthrough when it comes to self-reliance and Atmanirbharta, especially in the defense sector.
Oh, absolutely. And that takes the India-US relationship to a different level. That's why expansionist forces like China feel checkmated. Abhishek, keep tracking that story. I will come to you for more. For the moment, Abhishek Bhalla, many thanks. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting a number of people, both in New York and in Washington, D.C. In fact, when he lands there, ahead of the International Yoga Day celebrations at the United Nations headquarters. Remember, that's also a big event, and during the course of this broadcast and next several days, we'll talk about that in greater detail. The Prime Minister is meeting 24 individuals. There are Nobel laureates, there are other celebrities. Amongst them is one of the world's prime disruptors, Elon Musk. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is having a one-on-one. Why is this very interesting? Because there's growing chatter, possibly Tesla automobiles will be manufactured in India.
It was more than a year ago that Tesla first tried to make inroads into India. A red electric Tesla was even driven to the Road Transport and Highways Ministry to be tried by ministry officials in hope of a red carpet welcome by India. Talks, however, broke down over what Tesla was demanding and what the government was willing to offer. Then around 4 weeks ago, Elon Musk again raised hopes that Tesla could still be headed to India. In an interview, the billionaire announced that Tesla would decide the location of its next gigafactory by the end of this year. Asked whether India was a possibility, Musk replied, "Absolutely." The statement attracted attention, especially as it came just a week after a fresh round of talks between top Tesla officials and officials from various ministries. The company reportedly softened its stance considerably and has proposed setting up a factory in India to build electric cars for domestic sale and export. Additionally, the company is reportedly also looking at manufacturing EV batteries in India. For Elon Musk, India has proved a tough nut to crack. Not only was Tesla not allowed to drive into India, his Starlink internet services has been barred from offering web connectivity in the country. Starlink has thousands of low-level satellites providing internet across the world at speeds ranging between 50 and 150 Mbps. The government, however, shut it down in India last year, refusing to give it a license to offer services. This came even as Airtel and Reliance Jio rolled out their own satellite-based internet services. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting several thought leaders in New York after reaching the city Tuesday morning. These include American billionaire investor and hedge fund manager Ray Dalio, who has been particularly bullish on India. Paul Romer, the senior vice president of the World Bank, and Nassim Nicholas Taleb, known author and former opinions trader and risk analyst. But all eyes will be on the meeting between Modi and Elon Musk, who has just visited China and now has to decide whether he wants a pie of the Indian market or not. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
China is very worried. China thinks democracies are trying to contain China. China also believes that US wants to move supply chains out of China. And why not? Seeing the disruptions that happened post-COVID and the way China virtually held the world to ransom, democracies actually want resilient supply chains, and they realize India is a much better option. There are several top CEOs meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But will those manufacturing bases either shift to India, or will new manufacturing bases be set up in India? Also, defense manufacturing. Will we see much more of that in the months and years ahead? We bring you this report on top CEOs meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
It is India's soft power at its loudest. Preparations are underway at the North Lawns of the United Nations headquarters in New York City for Prime Minister Modi's Asana diplomacy on International Yoga Day on 21st of June. The historic event is to be attended by hundreds, including UN Secretary General Kasaba Kurosi and diplomats, ambassadors and representatives from nearly 180 countries. This demonstration of Indian soft power is just a precursor to 2 days of hard, bare-knuckles negotiations expected in Washington, D.C. The Prime Minister has a full itinerary. He will jump into action as soon as he reaches New York early morning on Wednesday. On the 21st, the Prime Minister will lead Yoga Day celebrations at New York, which will be followed by several engagements and departure for Washington, D.C. Next day, he will be felicitated at a ceremonial welcome at the White House, followed by bilateral talks with President Joe Biden. The evening will have the Bidens host a state dinner for the Indian Prime Minister. Modi will then get the singular honor of addressing a joint session of the US Congress a second time.
प्रधानमंत्री जो है अमेरिका के संसद पे भाषण देंगे. ये जॉइंट एड्रेस होता है कांग्रेस को। आज तक कोई भी भारत का प्रधानमंत्री इसको 2 बार उन्होंने संसद को संबोधित नहीं किया। यह पहली बार होगा और दुनिया में भी बहुत कम लोग हैं, जैसे विंस्टन चर्चिल हैं, नेल्सन मंडेला हैं, ऐसे ही माने गिने चुने लोग हैं जिन्होंने यूएस कांग्रेस को 2 बार संबोधित किया।
The show of solidarity between the two governments will continue with the Prime Minister hosting a luncheon event on Friday jointly with US Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Antony Blinken. What follows is some high-powered meetings with around 20 US CEOs who already do business in India or are keen to get a foothold in the Indian markets. The CEOs include Shantanu Narayan of Adobe Systems, Julie Sweet of Accenture, Ryan McHenry of Visa, as well as Michael Maybach of MasterCard, both reportedly keen on boarding the Indian digital payments superwagon, and James Quincy, the CEO of Coca-Cola.
हम जो है अपने हित से देखते हैं और रिश्तों की परिप्रेक्ष्य से देखते हैं, तो मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि इस विजिट से आप आउटकम देखेंगे, बहुत माने जबरदस्त आउटकम निकलेंगे, पर क्या निकलेंगे मैं अभी आपको बता नहीं सकता।
Some of the big outcomes which are already expected are an investment up to $2 billion by Micron Technologies, a crucial deal to buy 31 Predator drones, and a deal to allow General Electric to manufacture jet engines for Indian military aircraft within India. These engines will be used by the second iteration of the light combat aircraft and the under development advanced medium combat aircraft.
Well, both the Indian and the US governments are burning the midnight oil to make sure that PM Modi's visit to the US is fruitful and the objectives are met. In fact, to say the word is Zabardast in a way that the External Affairs Minister has also said. And the optics are well set because it's going to be a ceremonial welcome at the White House, followed by a state dinner and, of course, an address jointly by the US Congress. Reporting for Business Today Television in New Delhi, this is Karishma Sudani.
India-US relations have never been closer, stronger, and did they have this kind of promise in the past? Well, India Today's news director Rahul Kamal spoke to India's ambassador to the United States of America, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu. Hear him talk about the partnership, the Critical and Emerging Technology Initiative, and will the GE 414 engines be manufactured in India? What's the road ahead? Listen in.
Let's spend a moment, sir, on the business component of this visit. Prime Minister Modi will be meeting a lot of the top American CEOs as well. Could you give us a status check of where talks on the Indo-US free trade agreement are at this moment, and in your conversations with American corporates, the kind of interest that you're seeing in wanting to be a part of the India story, especially in the context of China flexing its muscles, and a lot of these companies looking at a China plus one supply chain strategy so they're not entirely dependent on China for their production.
So Rahul, there are a number of aspects you have touched here, but let me start from the back. You spoke about resilient supply chains. It's a very important concern here, and India is certainly being looked at one of those partners who can be important the supply chain. In fact, you know, during the height of COVID, and this may surprise you a bit, the way our handloom industry progressed, the way the production of masks was done, actually in late 2020, I got a request from the city of Philadelphia asking for 3 million masks. And, you know, we were in a position to actually provide them. So that's the kind of cooperation which has been happening. But, you know, coming down to the business part and the trade part, which you pointed out. Look, right now, even in the times when we do not have an FTA, when we are coming out of COVID, that is, the world is reeling under that pressure, United States especially, even then we have reached the record figure of 190 billion trade and plus. But this is only tip of the iceberg, and I completely agree with you. And when I mentioned to you, when I pointed out those 5 areas, healthcare, technology, IT, digital, and in energy, in education knowledge partnership, and defense and strategic affairs. Look, the scope is huge, and that's why this particular visit is going to be a landmark visit. You will see the number of interactions. In fact, you asked me about CEOs. I'm going to avoid giving specific names, but I can tell you that between the different engagements of the Prime Minister, starting with even the state banquet and the state lunch which the Vice President will be hosting, and his interaction with the professionals, his one-on-one meetings, there is going to be ample opportunity where he's going to be interacting with the topmost CEOs. That will be an expression of interest in India.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the US Congress, and this is the second time he'll be doing so, it will be India's world vision for the Americans to see and for the world to see. But India's open for business. India's open for expansion of businesses, for investment. Some of the points that Ambassador Sandhu made, that it's 190 billions and counting, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. India wants much more. So during this visit, what is it that Indians should expect? What is it that the Americans can and should expect? Let's take a look at this report.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to the United States for a visit billed as a turning point for bilateral relations, the focus is on deeper cooperation in defense and sharing high technology. The visit is expected to give India access to critical American technologies, which Washington rarely shares with non-allies, strengthening a new bond that is underpinned by not just global politics, but also business and economics.
State visit. This is a case where I think you really are going to see the substance, the deliverables reflect and match all of the pomp and circumstance and symbolism of accorded to a state visit. You're going to see dozens of agreements in areas ranging from defense to space, IT, higher education.
Washington and New Delhi, whose relationship was marked by mutual suspicion during the Cold War, have been moving closer for over 2 decades now, with successive US presidents displaying bipartisan support for stronger ties with India. The United States sees India as a vital partner in its efforts to push back against China's expanding influence worldwide and strengthen security in the Indo-Pacific. Importantly, the US also wants to wean India away from its traditional defense partner, Russia.
I would say it is important because India has often asked for high-end technology, and the US normally only gives it to its closest security partners and allies, and sometimes not even them. So to give it to a country which is not a security ally, which has had long relationship with Russia on the military front, means that you trust that country enough and are willing to share your technology with them in the defense realm, not just a civilian realm. So it matters.
Though the Prime Minister has made several previous visits to the United States, this will be his first with the full diplomatic status of an official state visit, just the third of Biden's presidency and third by any Indian leader. Major announcements expected during Modi's visit include India's purchase of 18 armed MQ-9B Sea Guardian drones made by General Atomics and removal of US obstacles that prevent smoother trade in defense and high technology. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
In fact, that's the message that's emerging from the United States of America. America trusts India. America wants to engage more with India and share critical technologies so far not shared even with alliance partners or just about with treaty alliance partners. So we were told that India was offered that NATO plus status, and India said, no, that doesn't suit us. We don't want it, but we do want critical technology. We want the GE-414 fighter jet engines. We want the Reapers, the Sea Guardians, the Predators, the Hellfire missiles, the smart munitions, the JDAMs, all of that India wants. The US is actually moving forward to say, yes, we trust you, we shall share. But how much is the big question? Again, my colleague Rahul Kawal, India Today's news director, spoke to the US ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tour to the United States of America, the jet engine deal, the drones, and much more. Listen in.
India-US ties are deepening at a time when tensions between Washington and Beijing and New Delhi are increasing as well. How do you see the India-US dynamic play out in the context of China trying to rise as a superpower and try and dominate its neighbors and the rest of the world?
Well, I think that we share those values, that we should have a free Indo-Pacific region, freedom of the seas, that we should have protection of basic democracy and human rights. I think that we see our relationship not based on any third party. And I know India wants to have more peaceful relations with China. The United States wants to have more peaceful relations with China. But in the meantime, if we see any country out there acting against rule of law, acting against our interests, I think we have a deep friendship and in many ways a strategic partnership that says we will be there for each other in times of need.
You know, you've come to India at a time when this massive visit's happening and everybody's been waiting for your confirmation to happen for you to come here. How's your stint in India been so far? Because whether it's the Anthony Blinken, whether it's Jake Sullivan, whether it's the Defense Secretary, you had massive visits happening at a very high level. So you literally been thrown into the hot seat.
I think every ambassador around the world, American ambassador, is jealous of how much attention India is getting. I mean, to have a visit of the Prime Minister at a state visit, to have our president come for the G20 2 months later. They just saw each other in Japan. Hopefully they'll see each other even later in the year. This is, I think, indicative that India is hot, America is hot, and that Indians love Americans and Americans love Indians. It's a time for us to strengthen that bridge between us. It's a time for us to do that not just for ourselves, but also, I think, increasingly for the world.
Let's spend a moment on that G20 summit.
Yes.
President Joe Biden will be here in September. How do you see India's presidency shape up so far, and what do you think should be or could be the key legacy that the Indian presidency leaves behind?
India is really a bridge between East and West, a bridge between North and South, and a bridge between the past and the future. And in that sense, I think we have an amazing opportunity to see India's leadership, whether it's empowering women, whether it's making sure that folks have access to capital, whether it's looking at the work that's being done with technology as a force for good. These things together, I think, can be the legacy of G20, and we're very excited to support India's chairing of this. We know it's a difficult time. We might not get unanimity on everything, especially when it comes to war. We'll speak up still about the war of aggression of the Russians in Ukraine. But that doesn't mean the other work has to stop. We will see, I think, some very productive, very important work, and we invite every country to join us in that here in India.
Well, thank you very much. I hear that there's a huge demand for people to be in DC at that big dinner that President Biden...
Hottest ticket in town.
It is absolutely the hottest ticket in town. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
My pleasure.
And we wish you all the best. Hope you have a great stint. And that promise that you just made about reducing visa times, everyone watching, I can guarantee you, will hold you to that.
We're going to be working hard to get it done.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Appreciate
sir.
it. Thank you. See you soon.
You too.
Cheers.
Now, this is the time that this relationship is moving forward way beyond words and optics to the substance of the relationship. And there are many aspects that are being talked about, like the 2005 India-US civil nuclear deal. That was seen as a game changer. This visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is being seen as that crucial game changer and even beyond that. But then, you remember when we were talking about the Prime Minister's visit, there were people who were saying that he's very strongly rooted in tradition, even though he talks about his vision for a modern India. The International Yoga Day at the United Nations headquarters. There will be thousands participating in that yoga event with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It was in 2014 that India actually sought 21st of June be celebrated as International Yoga Day. 177 countries supported India's resolution. Now there are yoga committees and yoga teams, and yoga, India's gift to the world, is celebrated across the world. We bring you more in this report.
Minister Narendra Modi's yoga diplomacy. Get set for the Prime Minister to lead the world this Yoga Day, as he will perform yoga this year with people from over 180 nations at the UN headquarters. Diplomats, academicians, entrepreneurs. They will all join Prime Minister Modi at the UN lawns to perform yoga on the occasion of the 9th International Yoga Day. Hectic preparations are underway as the Prime Minister will take part in 1-hour yoga performance in the North Lawns of the UN headquarters in New York, from the very premises that he first pitched the idea of an International Yoga Day 9 years ago.
योग मन व शरीर, विचार व कर्म, संयम व उपलब्धि की एकात्मता का तथा मानव व प्रकृति के बीच सामंजस्य का मूर्त रूप है। यह स्वास्थ्य व कल्याण का समग्र दृष्टिकोण है। योग केवल व्यायाम भर न होकर अपने आप से तथा विश्व व प्रकृति के साथ तादात्म्य को प्राप्त करने का माध्यम है।
And since then, Yoga Day has become a global celebration of Indian culture, while also recognizing India's immense contribution to health and harmony. Prime Minister Modi, for the last 9 years, has diligently marked every Yoga Day with fellow Indians, and thereby highlighting the power of yoga to the world.
Sukhasana posture, which is a meditative posture.
From teaching the benefit of asanas to the world, to showing how yoga is an intrinsic part of his fitness regime. Prime Minister Modi has put the spotlight on yoga in every possible way. Come June 21st, witness the soft power of yoga and how the world celebrates India, led by Prime Minister Modi in New York. Bureau Report, India Today.
India Today has the finest team of journalists on ground zero to get you every aspect of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's very important visit to the United States of America. Much more on this story in the days ahead. A quick break, back with lots more. Stay with us. Prime Minister Modi's unmissable America visit. Biden, business and big bang diplomacy. Hugs, handshakes and high-value deals. The leader of the world's oldest democracy and the leader of the world's biggest democracy. Total coverage non-stop from New York and Washington, D.C. Join me, Rahul Kamal and Geeta Mohan at every step as Prime Minister says, Namaste, America.
Yoga is not just about body postures or flexibility or another way of exercising or moving your body. It goes much beyond, much deeper. It's a very deeper connection with your own self.
Nostril breathing, close your right nostril with your thumb. Inhale from your left nostril. Close your left nostril and exhale from your right.
Many people, they say, I feel suicidal, like domestic abuses, the many things that happened at the time. And I used to get the phone calls and I was scared. And what can I do? What should I do at this time? This is happening, what should I do? And only thing at that time I knew is this will help. And then be strong right now and log in the morning. Few months later, I remember this person, the same lady who called me, who was saying that I was feeling suicidal, and they called me after 3 months and she tells, मैं कहाँ मरने की सोच रही थी and now मैं headstand कर रही हूँ. That was kind of liberating.
The myth about yoga just being something which can be equated to exercise is absolutely something that we need to move away from, and regular practices will make us believe, and results will tell us that it is something beyond just exercises.
Complete focus on your breath.
It really works on rewiring your brain in such a way it will help us grow as a person. As I told you before, no matter what profession that I am in, I might not be a yoga teacher or anything. I can be the best in everything I do. That's what yoga does.
3, 4, 5, 6.
If there's a group of friends and one of the person is known to have a very frequent anxiety attacks or very frequent panic attacks, what the others would advise is that just
Futuristic smart bags are here. Chic, all-rounded, with location trackers and biometrics. Biometrics for my laptop safety. You can never lose your bag now because it gets tracked on my smartphone on the app. Let's call the bag. Oh, there you go. But what if I lose my phone in the process and I have my bag with me? Not a problem. Double tap. There, my phone is ringing. Welcome to the smart futuristic bags of tomorrow. And now let me call the glasses. Oh, they're ringing. I found where my glasses are. My bag here, biometrics here, and there you go. I found my sunglasses because they've been ringing right here on this tracker. And where are my glasses? But wait, what if I forget where my wallet is? There you go, the purse has been connected here, my glasses have been connected here. Let's call my wallet. As you can see, the wallet rings when I put this. There you go, there's my wallet. So what if I have my wallet with me, but I cannot find my phone? Not a problem at all anymore. I just have to tap this, and voila, the phone rang. A laptop bag beyond the gadget. Space to put an extra phone over here. Cabin luggage, compact, easier, comfortable, no mess travel, futuristic. Cabin luggage, that secures itself. Also, it turns into a haversack. Goodbye, messy reorganization at the check-in counter. These are bags that weigh themselves, so you don't have to reorganize your bags at the check-in counter. Let's turn my already smart Rashki bag into a super smart travel bag by using Arista Vault bag tag. Hey Google, find my bag. There, it rang. Thank you, my smart bag tag. Fashion is great, but functionality, that is timeless. No matter what your budgets are, options.
Big story, a blow to the Mamata Banerjee government in Bengal. The Supreme Court has upheld the High Court order clearing the deployment of central forces ahead of Panchayat elections in Bengal. And this comes at a time when fresh violence has been reported ahead of elections. Our Bengal Bureau with this important report.
Amid massive bloodshed and spate of political murders in Panchayat poll-bound West Bengal, a massive Supreme Court blow for the Mamata government. Supreme Court on Tuesday upheld Calcutta High Court's order deploying central forces on poll duty for violence hit Bengal. Pulling up the Mamata government and state poll body which opposed central forces, the top court said polls cannot be licensed for violence. The Supreme Court also pointed to history of deadly violence during polls in Bengal.
The BJP and Congress seem to have come together before the Supreme Court to say that central forces must be deployed in the state to prevent ongoing violence. The state of West Bengal, the TMC government and the State Election Commission had approached the Supreme Court against the Calcutta High Court verdict, which had directed deployment of central forces across the state.
The TMC tried to brazen it out despite the rap from the top court.
We are disappointed with the Supreme Court verdict, but it really wouldn't matter. We have had Panchayat elections with central forces in 2013. We won. Central forces do not understand the language of the state. They create confusion, they are confused themselves.
The Supreme Court verdict triggered massive political attacks on Mamata government, with the BJP gunning for Mamata.
এটা কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারের এমএইচ এর অর্ডারে হচ্ছে না, রাজ্য সরকারের রিকুইজিশনে হচ্ছে না, হাইকোর্টের অর্ডার হচ্ছে এবং সুপ্রিম কোর্ট আপনাকে ক্লিয়ারেন্স দিয়েছে, তাই সেন্ট্রাল ফোর্সেরও রেসপন্সিবিলিটি অনেক বেড়ে গেল, আমরা সেটা করাবো।
Congress too slammed Mamata government.
কলকাতা হাইকোর্ট বলেছিল বিনা পয়সায় কেন্দ্রীয় বাহিনী আসবে, আপনাদের পয়সা খরচ করতে হবে না, তাতেও আপত্তি ছিল রাজ্য সরকারের।
Ironically, the Supreme Court verdict came hours after fresh pre-poll violence rocked Bengal's Malda, after TMC and independent candidates clashed, leaving several people critically injured. Can central forces ensure a level playing field in blood-sailed Bengal politics?
Question still remains that will the deployment of central forces during the polling process ensure that less violence, or rather no violence, takes place on the 8th of July, that is the day of polling for Panchayat, will be able to answer whether the central forces are the answer to a very peaceful poll. With camera person Shamsundar Ghosh, this is Suryagni Roy for India Today, Kolkata.
And I want to leave you with images of the world-famous Bhagwan Jagannath Rath Yatra. This Rath Yatra is an annual event. It's currently underway in various parts of our country. A sea of devotees have gathered to pull the chariot of Lord Jagannath. I want to show you images from Jagannath Puri. This is considered one of the 4 most important places of pilgrimage for Hindus in India. It's one of the 4 dhams. In Gujarat, Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel performed the process, the puja. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah was with him at the beginning of the second biggest Rath Yatra in Ahmedabad. In Bengal, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee also visited the ISKCON temple in Kolkata to take part in the Rath Yatra, or pulling of the chariot celebrations. There, we leave you with these images.
DG, payments at petrol pumps have fallen significantly from 40% to 10%. Expand on that. People are just coming in and buying petrol and exhausting their supply of 2000 notes?
Yes. So basically this is an consumption boost. So whatever you are paying to if somebody is going and spending at the petrol pump, so that amount of money will now be deposited by the petrol pump owners, maybe in their current account. So that will give a boost to the low cost deposit account of the bank. So basically that will also lead to an improvement in CASA. But the second corollary of this, that a part of this is also getting withdrawn. We have seen that there has been an increase in ATM transaction also in the last couple of fortnight after this note was discontinued. So that means that a part of the money, and we estimate that around 60% of that, a part of the money in savings account is being withdrawn for lower denomination notes. So
has it been possible for you to determine how much, because you've also said that cash on delivery, e-commerce has also seen a uptick and increase. Have you been able to quantify how much that kind of sales and purchase have increased by?
See, it's difficult to quantify those numbers, but obviously this will be a part of that 55,000 crore consumption boost, which we are estimating is happening purely because of this withdrawal of the note. 55,000 crore, we can actually get a consumption multiplier of 1.8 trillion. So which is not a small number. And this number, if it is added to the private funnel consumption expenditure for Q1, you can actually have a GDP growth rate which could be in excess of 8%, which the RBI is projecting for FY24.
While the whole world is still undergoing a lot of volatility, inflation pressures in the developed economies, what does this broadly mean for the entire financial year, Mr. Ghosh? Because like you've been pointing out, there is a front loading of consumption. But it would also mean that once people sort of are through with this cycle of replacement exchange of 2000 rupee notes, there will be a dip as well.
Let me answer your question in a different manner. So right now we are seeing that 60% of his amount is being withdrawn from the banks. So over a point of time, as people deposit more and more 2000 rupee notes into the system, this 60% number could actually go up, because so from that point of view, of course, this impact could get a little bit diminished over a point of time, but it could be also possible that this ratio of withdrawal to the total deposit number could also go up. So on the net basis, it is difficult to say, but obviously the maximum impact on consumption will be at least till September, or if till September in terms of a boost to the overall growth. And I think that's good for us also, because the way the markets have been moving from April to June this year, the total amount of portfolio capital inflows which is coming to in the April to June is at least US 8.5 billion. So that means at least 50,000 crores of money has flowed.
just like Twitter, now you can be verified on Meta platforms, Instagram and Facebook by paying a small fee. In this case, just ₹6.99. What does this mean? Can anybody be verified? No, there are some eligibility criteria. For starters, all the people applying for a paid verified badge on Meta platforms need to be of 18 years of age. Moreover, they'll have to get their government ID verified and would also have to send in a selfie to make sure that this is their account and it's not an impersonator. Let's see what New Delhi thinks about this development. Arjun, how often do you use Instagram?
I guess 2 to 3 hours daily.
Daily, I guess 2 hours.
10 to 12 times a day.
Almost every hour of my day. It's frequent these days since the exams are over.
Do you think you'll be buying the Insta or Meta verified now?
No, I don't think so. I will buy it.
Do you know there's this big change where anybody can buy the blue tick?
No, I didn't know this. Yeah, it's actually very shocking. Like, I thought, how is everybody getting a blue tick?
Do you ever plan on buying it yourself?
No, I didn't.
I plan on getting a blue tick, but not by money, by my own hard work.
Yes, for sure the value will go down because earlier you have to hard work for it. I do think that earlier the legacy blue tick was a really big thing because people used to earn that through Instagram. They couldn't buy it and they had to be a really big deal to get a blue tick. They had to be a celebrity and some sort, but now it's just a way to flex your money.
It was used to be a big thing for everybody using Instagram and especially for influencers because they work very hard.
Powered by Voltas Pure Air 6-stage adjustable AC. Ajio Big Bold Sale.
Sidhu struggles to fulfill freebie vow. Anya Bhagya's team in trouble. No rice for scheme. Congress blames BJP.
Instead of making allegations, false allegations like this, Basuraj Bommai should have spoken to Government of India and see that rice is supplied.
BJP hits the streets against Congress.
They want to cover their failure and blame the government, and they are making politics in issuing rice to the poor people.
Desperate Congress snubbed by other states.